Welcome to the Journey Principles, where we show you how to go from stuck to unstoppable with life strategies that work. Now, here's your host and creator of the Transform You framework, Stephen Scoggins.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Journey Principles. We're here for our third episode of Journey Principles with Stephen Scoggins. And I also should go ahead and just put out there, also here with my co-host here, Connor Kraft, Director of Connections with Journey Principles. If this is your first time here, we're happy you're here. What you can learn here is life mastery principles made simple.
Yeah.
I think I made that really wordy.
It's basically just life mastery made simple. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just if you want to learn how to take control of your life, accomplish the things you've always wanted to accomplish with less stress.
Yep.
I mean, not less work. It's going to take a lot of work. But if you want that, then we aim to give you the lessons.
Yeah, we'll give you the
fluff.
steps to help you go from stuck to unstoppable, or discover, basically take who you are today and actually create the person that you were really designed to be. That's our heart. That's our mission. I am curious, Connor, but as we're jumping in, what were we talking about today, and then where did we finish last week?
So last week was all about just the introduction to life mastery. So it was our first two episodes of the podcast. The first episode we covered Life Mastery 101. So we recommend you check that out if you haven't seen the first episode of the podcast. And then the second one, we actually dove into what are the stages of life mastery.
Yeah.
Like what does that process look like from, basically you make the decision that you want to do something about your life and change it all the way up until the mastery phase.
Yeah.
And we go into what the 7 stages really are. So
Well, we did that so you can actually know where you are in your journey today.
Right.
And it also tells you about what the next step is.
Absolutely.
So it can help you keep moving
So
forward.
for all of you who are wondering, well, what do I do next? I don't know where I am. I don't know what I have to do today. You need context. I'd highly recommend you check that out. Check out the first episode first. But yeah, so this week we're going to be talking pretty much all about Overwhelm all week. So this particular episode that we're doing is going to be basically how to cure overwhelm and finally make progress.
Yeah, and I want to mention that the reason we're covering this particular subject matter is because of the responses we're getting out there on the web and whatnot. So we appreciate you guys doing questions. In fact, if you have a question that you would like answered on air, either on YouTube or on podcast, we will create customized content based on your questions if you want to.
Absolutely.
To do that, all you have to do is go to questions@journeyprinciples.com.
Email us.
Yeah, email us the information. We'd love to have it be like an iPhone video or something like that. It could be like a quick selfie if you're cool with it.
Comfortable
Yeah, if
being
you're cool
on
with it.
camera. Absolutely. If
And if you're not,
then just
write it.
And you can just let us know if you want it to be an anonymous question. That's fine. We're happy to do that as well.
We did decide that if in the event that we use your question on air or any of the on-air stuff that we do, whether it be YouTube or podcast or anything like that, you'll also get a free gift.
Yes.
On behalf of the Journey Principles Institute and our team here. So, all right. So we're going to answer the overwhelm question. What do we got, Connor?
How do we cure overwhelm and finally make progress? I guess really to break this down, we first really need to cover why do people feel overwhelmed?
Well, most of the time, most
from?
people feel overwhelmed because they're trying to control the uncontrollable, right? So they're trying to control every facet of their life. They're trying to make life fit into their box.
Okay.
And a lot of times, there's a life mastery skills problem that kind of prevents that. We talked about that a lot on the first episode that we did, where when Murphy comes to you, it's not that Murphy's smacking you in the face. He's just decided to pick on you.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, Murphy's Law. It's not that he just decided to pick on you. It's just decided you don't have the life skills in place just yet to be able to respond, which opens the door for more problems.
So that's what happens when it feels like life's just kicking you while you're down,
Exactly.
which we briefly touched on in the first podcast.
Imagine, if you will, overwhelm kind of feels like a balloon that has helium in it, and all of a sudden somebody pokes a hole in it, just around, right? So anxiety and feelings of overwhelm actually kind of come from that area. You just don't know what direction to go, but your brain's trying to solve the problem because your brain is actually trying to keep you safe, right? So your brain can see it as a fight or flight response, right? So as a result, your brain is going constantly spinning. What we want to do today specifically is help you alleviate the feeling of overwhelmed. Actually, I think the best person to do that is actually to talk about Connor. Connor had a really cool experience that happened just a couple of weeks ago where he was feeling incredibly overwhelmed. I gave him a 4-step process, and he implemented it. And so first of all, tell us about your experience, and then tell us what happened.
Yeah, so really for the last several years, and pretty much everything that I've tried to do, primarily in business but also in life, I've always been a very ambitious person. I have like I mean, a trillion is obviously an exaggeration, but I have a bunch of goals. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of things at any given time.
And he's trying to do them all at once.
And I'm trying, and that's the thing I was going to say. Like you said, controlling the uncontrollable. But another thing that creates overwhelm is when you have no sense of priority.
Yep.
So you just have like 100 things that you want to change in your life. You know, you want to get in better shape. You want to fix your relationship with your spouse. You want to get out of debt. You want to improve your finances. You want to stop this job that you hate and get into a career you love. And all of these things are just kind of bouncing around in your head, and you're like, well, I want to do all these things, but how the heck, where do I start? You know? And so for me, I stayed very, very miserably overwhelmed and stressed out for a long time because first of all, I didn't follow the very first step that we're going to cover here, which is emptying your brain. Like I tried to keep all that stuff up in my head of these are the things I need to do. Guys, I used to hear people say, you have to write down your goals. And I was like, you don't have to write down your goals. Like, I don't have to do that. Until I actually got everything out of my head, I didn't realize how powerful that is.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually brought that up because a lot of people that we work with specifically, it doesn't matter which country they're in, a lot of people we work with specifically all come in originally out of, kind of first time they're in they kind of introduce, they got this problem, they got that problem, they got this problem. Seldom do they actually have they taken the time to actually do what is easily referred to as a brain dump. Right. So step one is essentially a brain dump. And the brain dump is nothing more than unloading your brain of every stinking thought, step, action item, goal,
person you have to get back to, goal, thing you have to fix. Exactly. All that. Get it all out of your head.
And and we also talk about this too. When the first time you go to do this first step, it may feel uncomfortable, but it also, by the time you're done, it'll feel amazingly freeing.
Oh yeah, well that's what I noticed is like there's a certain level of freeingness that does open up freedom, I guess.
That's a new word.
Yeah,
I like that. I make words up all the time.
It is very, very freeing when you actually get this stuff out of your head. So if you haven't done that and you feel overwhelmed, that could be why, and we recommend you take that step. However, there's another step that's really important because if you have, like we just said, 100 different things or tasks, and you just are now staring at this mountain of tasks, that's still overwhelming. Yeah. So to really cure overwhelm, there's more steps there. You have to have some levels of bucketing and prioritization and basically breaking it down so you're not trying to do everything at once. Exactly. Because literally, there's this really cool story that I was told once that basically said that at the circus, they tame lions by, they grab like a stool with a chair with 4 legs, and they put it up in the lion's face, and the lion doesn't know what to do because it's confused by the 4 legs. Yeah. Well, that can be very, very confusing, and that literally causes something in the lion's brain to just halt. Yeah. It's analysis paralysis. Yeah. And that's just with 4 things, and that's like the king of the animal
I remember
kingdom.
when you used to come to me, and you were clearly overwhelmed, right?
Oh, yeah.
You clearly had a lot of, and it was if you stay overwhelmed long enough, it turns into anxiety. Okay, so most people get anxiety and feeling overwhelmed confused. Most people think because they're overwhelmed that they have anxiety and they have to take medication, all this kind of stuff. Really what they need to do is just take some practical steps. When you used to come to me, you would say, well, I got this and I got that and I got that and I got this and I got that. I'm like, did you write it down?
And I would always be like, no,
well,
I didn't.
It won't work. I said, okay, well, I'll write my stuff down.
Yeah.
And
I was
not
very
always
stubborn with that. Like, I literally thought that I knew better. And I was the kid, guys, who in school never took notes. I never was diligent with any of that stuff. So I just hadn't built the habits. There are a lot of people watching this who are note takers and are amazing at that. And they're really organized and good at getting out of their things out of their brain. So for those people, I think the next step is really the next step, which is bucketing things and breaking it down. Am I right?
Yeah. Step 2 is totally bucketing things. Now, I have a unique way of looking at bucketing things. So I actually took a principle that Stephen Covey came up with, which is the quadrants of prioritization. I think I got that. I butchered that a little bit, but he came up with the original concept. I added a step to it that made sense for me called spring cleaning. We'll go over that in just a second. But I also took it to another level because we're whole beings, right? There are 8 areas of life that we need to have traction and progress on.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. The 8
now,
pillars.
We call them 8 pillars of life.
And this is your health, your
I mean,
relationships.
There's an entire set of videos and podcasts on the 8 pillars specifically. I invite you to check the channel out.
If you check out our YouTube channel, I don't know if it'll be up by this time. However, actually, matter of fact, our next podcast later this week, literally in 2 days from the time that this airs, we will be going over the 8 pillars of life. So just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, but just a quick snapshot: 8 pillars: financial life, spiritual life, emotional life, relational life, professional life, spiritual contribution. Like those are some of the elements. Okay,
right.
The reason that's important is because at any given time in your life, right, you may need something different. For example, at any given time in your life, you may be heavily focused on your relationships, meaning maybe you're making all the money you need to make, maybe you're in the career you love, maybe you're making contributions, but maybe you're lonely, right? And really what you want is your person, what my wife would refer to as your person, right? And I believe that there is a person for everybody, but I also believe that you have to become the right person to attract that person.
So for this specific person, you would be looking at improving your relationships.
Exactly.
So because you can identify that area of life is important, that could be a good place to direct your brain dump.
Yeah. I actually have over there by your sunglasses, his really cool Ray-Ban sunglasses. Like
these aren't Ray-Ban.
Excuse me.
These are Guess.
Oh, excuse me. Guess what kind of sunglasses they are. All right, so grab that piece of paper over there. All right, so a couple different things, right? I'm going to go over this in just a second, but essentially, when you do the brain dump, you get everything out of your head. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to try to prioritize and segregate that information into a couple key areas, okay? Right. The segregation starts with urgent priority. I'm showing this on camera, right? It's just a cheat sheet that we use. We're going to turn it into a fancy, pretty PDF that's downloadable for free, but in the meantime, urgent priority is stuff that needs to be done within the next 24 hours.
Right.
Okay, this is my highest priority, which might be paying your light bill, right? It may be more important to go pay your light bill than to go out with your friends and have a drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have seen, and actually, if I'm being honest, I've actually done this before, where I went out, forgot to pay my light bill, and the next morning my lights are shut off, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Now, it was a long time ago, but I have done that. So, it is possible. Urgent priorities, next 24 to 48 hours. All right. High priority is something that needs to be done that week.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Moderate priority has to be done in the next couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, something like that. Low priority is maybe 30 days. Okay. This is just something within 30 days I got to knock out. Okay.
So you're bucketing these tasks into different levels of priority. And you break them into 5 different levels. What's the 5th level?
The 5th level I refer to as spring cleaning. And here's what I mean by that. So, as you can imagine, anytime you set out to build a business, it doesn't matter if you come from the construction background like I used to, or if you're doing something like we're doing today and we're actually actively trying to change lives and traveling the country and all that kind of stuff, right? It's a big deal, right? Meaning the mission's a big deal, right? It's a big mission. In fact, we're going to need lots of help. So that's why we need you guys to get trained up so we can get your help, right? As you can imagine, a lot of times there are so many different complexities moving into place, right? That if you're not doing a brain dump and you're not segregating stuff, you're going to make a mistake, all right? How many times have you done the wrong thing in the wrong order, meaning you, like I just mentioned before, you went out with your friends or something like that when you should have been taking care of responsibility, and the next week and month you're having to pay for that responsibility.
Well, and I imagine that the time when you have to pay for that, you wake up and the lights aren't on, that's when the feelings of overwhelm really hit.
And that's also when you know you have life.
Because of a lack of preparation, though, is what I'm trying to hit on is you might not, like that night when you're not organized and you're going out and having fun and doing things the wrong way in the wrong order and going out and having fun with your friends rather than paying your light bill, you're not going to feel the feelings of overwhelm that night. As a matter of fact, that night you're going to feel really good. But then the next morning, when you have to face the consequences of the lack of prioritization and organization, the symptom is the overwhelm. Because now you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And then you feel like crap about yourself.
And again, if you leave the symptom undealt with, which we're giving you the techniques to deal with this, right?
Yes.
If you leave the symptom undealt with, it turns into anxiety. If it turns into anxiety, the next thing you know, dude, I'm so sick of this, but the first thing that'll happen is you'll walk into a doctor's office, and the first thing they'll do is going to have you pop a pill. The problem is with that is the chemicals that are in the pill either suppress or amplify dopamine, serotonin, and things of that nature. They totally mess up your brain chemistry.
And it takes a long time to get those back.
And many of those side effects are suicidal thoughts. Yeah. I mean, hello. Like, let's feed the brain what it needs, and let's take the time to buck it and get serious. So,
for sure.
Spring cleaning, the last phase. Spring cleaning is stuff you just really want to do. Maybe it's you want to go to a park and draw a picture. For me, my spring cleaning list right now is I want to make sure that I take Karen out for a nice trip because we haven't had a lot of times to go on vacation right now. Right.
So it's something that you'd like to do, but it isn't.
I may not be able to do it in the next 30
right
days
now. Got it. Makes sense.
Now, right now, one of my high priorities is I have a deadline. Right. I got a deadline for our publishers with TBN. I'm the next Transform You book. The next book's coming out, and I've got to turn the manuscript. So I got a deadline. Right. I have a hard date. Right, so that's a high priority item. I also have to create video content on a regular basis so we make sure you guys get what you need. Podcasts and things of that nature. Those are high and urgent priority items for me, right? Moderate priority items for me right now might be something along the lines of, hey, I really want to go shopping and check out and see if there's some better camera equipment that can increase our overall quality of what we're offering our audience.
Right. So by splitting your big list of tasks into, first of all, different areas of life so that you could focus on things one at a time, right? Because there's going to be levels of priority in your 8 pillars.
Absolutely.
Like we said earlier, that person that's focused on relationships, those relationship items might have a more urgent priority than some of their financial items. And that's why it's important to separate them in different areas because you might have a bunch of things that are in the urgent priority category, but if you have urgent priority categories for your fitness, which is really already good, and your relationships, the relationships has to be the important one because that's the area of your life you want to improve.
That's right.
So now I'm going to make a bold claim here, and I'm just going to ask you, if you think that this is accurate. Would you say that if you don't go through these steps, you are practically destined to feel overwhelmed?
I wouldn't use the word destined.
Okay.
I would say you have a very high likelihood of constantly staying overwhelmed.
What if we take the inverse and say that most people who are feeling overwhelmed, it's probably because you're not doing this work properly?
Well, I'll throw it on its head this way.
Okay.
What was your experience when you
experience
finally followed the process?
When I finally got myself to actually do this and stop thinking that I knew better than it, I was seriously amazed at how I actually was at the point where I thought I had a work ethic problem because I would procrastinate so much because I was so stressed, and I didn't realize that was the thing. I was like, dude, I used to be such a hard worker. What's the problem? Why do I feel like I'm pulling my hair out every single day because I have all these responsibilities?
This is what not having hair looks like, by the way, not that over there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe you pulled your hair out.
Maybe.
So anyway, but I seriously am really kicking myself that I didn't take these actions earlier.
Even though I've been telling you that.
Even though you've literally been telling me, this is the thing. When you have a mentor, they're gonna be like, I told you so.
Well, I've done my best not to say I told you so.
I don't care if you do. You were right. I deserve it. But no, guys, seriously, if you are not following these steps, but you are experiencing the symptoms of overwhelm, I highly recommend you do it.
Yeah.
Don't be like me and waste several years not doing this and still feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Another thing that I just recently learned, because this was 2 weeks ago that I finally bucketed my tasks and I felt so free for the next week.
So what happened when you bucketed your tasks?
I immediately knew exactly what I needed to do at any step of the day. So when I came into the office on Monday, I knew exactly what my priorities were. I knew the 5 to 6 things that I had to do to move the needle. And I knew, because it was a small list, I wasn't keeping track of the 100 things anymore. It was just 5 things that I chose to do that day. And so basically what I did is I had a lot more than 5 urgent priorities, but I said, okay, well, today's Monday. I only have enough time to do a handful of these. So out of my list of 5 or of 100 or whatever urgent priorities, I don't think I had quite that much. I said, okay, I'm going to pick 5 or 6 of them that are absolutely imperative that I get these done today, and I'm just going to focus on these. That eliminated 95% of my stress immediately.
And then what happened?
And then I was more productive than I had been in years. Which was amazing because the thing is I didn't realize this, but I was wasting all of my time and all of my productive time.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, all the stuff that you kept coming to you kept coming to me. How am I going to be as productive as you? How am I going to get all this stuff? I'm like, dude, just do the steps I do. Like, don't just listen. Don't come ask. Just don't just come to ask me a question.
I would nod my head. It would go in one ear and out the other.
Well, I think it stuck because eventually you finally did it.
True.
I did have to leverage your arm and twist your arm a little bit, but when you finally did it, procrastination happens when you don't know what to do or you're scared to do it. Okay?
Wait, say that again. That's really strong.
I'm not even sure I can. Luckily,
procrastination happens when you don't know what to do or you're scared to do it.
That's right.
Wow. I like that.
So keep in mind, if you procrastinate...
So it's not from laziness.
It's not laziness. People don't take action many times because they don't know what action to take or they don't have someone to show them how to take it.
Tony Robbins he says that you're not lazy, you just have impotent goals, or impotent. I don't know what the
impotent goals.
impotent goals.
Okay.
Your goals don't inspire you, is what
Yeah.
he says. Could that be another symptom?
Yeah. I mean, you could be pursuing the wrong things, which is why it's so important to prioritize, right?
Right.
If you're pursuing the wrong things in front of something else, you're gonna have less passion. You're gonna have less commitment. You're gonna have less trust in the next step, right? I will say that there's an element of do the hard work first, and this is what I was really proud of when you finally took this approach and this step. You finally bucketed. You did the brain dump. You bucketed. You segregated. You did the urgent, the important, right? You got it all laid out. And then you did the next step. And this is where I think people get off track. Because I know lots of people with lots of to-do lists that never check anything off. Okay? You took action. And when I said you took action, it wasn't like, the heavens open and whatever. You just looked at the priority in front of you and began taking action.
I picked a handful of them that I thought I could do today. I made that my goal. I made my only focus for that day, not to worry about the other 100 things, but only to focus on these 5 things. And if I could check these 5 things off before I leave today, then I'd feel good. And what ended up happening was, guess how many things I did? Like
a bunch.
Like 15.
Yeah.
Rather than the 5. I actually did. I got done with the 5 things that I selected for myself within the first literally 30 minutes. And I was blown away.
Well, that was the crazy part. But let me ask you this, all right? So I'm going to take this a step further. So step 1, brain dump. Step 2, prioritize, get yourself situated. Step 3, let's start taking some action, okay?
Right.
Now, take those 3 steps, right? They're easy to follow steps. We overcomplicate life stuff all the time, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, how did you feel as you were making progress? Like as soon as you got done with object number 1 and you checked it off, what happened?
Oh, I got a huge dopamine hit immediately. I felt amazing. And
then
I felt motivated to take the next action. This is something that I've recently been big on because I've heard this a lot of times and I didn't really understand it until recently. So a lot of people have the problem. They're like, oh, I don't feel motivated. Why don't I feel motivated? I need motivation. They think that motivation is a feeling that causes them to take action.
It's not feeling.
It's actually
It's
the
commitment.
opposite. Motivation, it's all caused by dopamine. And I don't want to get too deep into the science right now, but basically motivation happens after you take an action. When you make a little bit of progress, you get a boost of dopamine, which is the motivation chemical in your brain. So literally, you're not going to feel like it until you've already taken the first couple of steps. Now, when you've done that, you will get that motivation, and then you'll be like, oh my God, now I'm on a hamster wheel I can't get off of for a good reason.
Can you guys see why I'm so proud of this guy? How far he's come? Look at all this. I love this.
Hey man, I'm just trying to learn everything I can and implement it. So.
Yeah, no, I mean you're spot on. That's why I was taking you with that question. Like when you checked off the first thing, how'd you feel? And then you checked off the second thing.
I had momentum, and the momentum gave me the motivation to keep going. By the way, guys, even though I had my stuff broken down, I want to clarify this. When I showed up on Monday morning, I still didn't feel like I was like a warrior ready to go into battle. I was like, what did
I tell you?
You said do the push-ups.
Yeah.
You said, all right, man, get started. Come on, just knock out the first thing. Yeah. That's it. And I said, okay. And I did my best to just ignore all the other things that were floating around my brain and say, okay, I'm just going to do this one thing.
Well, what I thought was interesting was when you first started coming to me with like this particular concern, this area you're trying to conquer, feeling overwhelmed, almost anxious on a regular basis, that led you to like self-doubt and other like all kinds of garbage that comes with this, right? Which is why this is
really
so important.
Just because I wasn't taking care of the fundamentals.
Well, and it's interesting you say that. So when you first started coming to me, it's almost like you assumed that I was productive because I enjoyed what I was doing. Like you assumed that everything that I was working on was something I wanted.
When I look at you and when the people watching this look at successful people, they look at a Gary Vaynerchuk or a Tom Bilyeu or a Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or any of these people, anyone you look up to, even Tom Brady or anyone who's
there's a ton of
successful
people.
Athlete, musician, anything. You look at them and you're like, oh man, their life looks so great. They're doing what they love. They must enjoy every second of it. But you're not seeing the work.
Yeah,
you're not seeing the fact that when they get up at 5 a.m., they're not as happy as you think they are. They're still like, I got to get out of it. Yeah. Now, the thing is with these people, they've been doing it for so long that now it is habit, so they might be at that level. Yeah. But you can't compare yourself to those people at that level.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
Because what is the one thing you're probably struggling with
No,
right now?
I know. Dude, my problem is I cognitively understand all of this. I just struggle to implement it. But I'll get there eventually.
My buddy Connor, who I love dearly, peppers me with questions all day long, which is amazing.
Which I pretty much already know the answer to. It's funny.
Well, you do now because we've gone over it so many times. Because he tries to ask me the same 6 questions in a row, expecting a different
That's
answer.
how we got to the push-ups thing.
That's exactly how we
story
got
for
to
another
the
day.
push-ups,
But
yeah.
yeah.
But one of the things that is, I'm glad you mentioned that, is because a lot of people are overwhelmed because they are judging their starting point or their middle by someone else's end.
Or by their perception of their own end. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of comparing myself to others, but the real thing that
you're
I
like,
do
when am I
is-
going to be a billionaire? I'm like, do the push-ups. I mean, geez, man.
Or even, I'm even a millionaire. I'd be happy with a couple $1,000,000.
You think you would?
Yeah. Yeah. That. Well, I guess that's a lesson
All right.
for me.
Yeah.
years
So
down the
I'll give
road.
you a quick financial lesson on wealth.
Mm.
The quicker it grows, right, or the more it grows, the more responsibility you're going to have with it.
And that sucks, right?
It
I like how
can-
you're saying
yeah,
it,
it can
to a
it-
degree.
Well, yeah.
Careful what you wish
There are
for.
times when having that responsibility can be burdensome. Okay,
Right.
but it's also an opportunity to steward. And what I mean by that is, if I make good financial decisions, I can change people's lives.
Right.
Okay.
And that I assume in the cause of fulfillment is
Yeah,
worth any
and I mean
price.
donating to philanthropic efforts and stuff like that. Now, I've gotten to the point now that I practically had to set up a foundation in order to segregate and deal with all my giving. And the reason that is because you've seen this working here at my companies. I get asked on a regular
Oh
basis.
yeah, you get asked for money like 5 times,
Like
5
it's-
times a week. It's-
Yeah, and it's and
And I imagine
it's-
that would get annoying. I've always said like, yeah,
Well,
but
it
I'm
makes
not
you-
gonna care when I have
Yeah.
that much money. But I think I probably would.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you
guess.
wonder like who's really in it to really learn, who's really in it to be your friend, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
so with-
everything has an agenda attached to it.
Exactly. And so you have to have the character at some point in time to actually deal with that and to walk through that. and stuff like that. Otherwise, you
You'll have
become
money with no happiness, and you'll be really depressed because you'll be like, "Why am I not happy? Because I have all this money
and overwhelmed.
and overwhelmed." Right. All right. So back to Overwhelm.
Yep.
How much time do we have left?
We
Let's
got
see.
about 3 minutes.
Looks like what? 3?
I got 3 minutes. I got 26.
Oh my God, we got 3 minutes and 54 seconds. Well, I think we covered enough here.
Well, we did.
So
We covered a ton. I will tell you that just one addition. Guys, don't judge yourself today based on where you want to go. Instead, take the steps. I'm going to have Connor repeat them in just a
break
second.
them down.
Break them down. Do the push-ups. Do the work.
Yeah.
Reap the reward.
I'm starting to learn. I mean, I've already seen I've already seen results from that 2 weeks ago change.
All right.
And it's amazing.
40
So,
seconds.
I'm super excited.
All
I
right.
got a little more than that.
We'll tell everybody. Let's go over the steps again.
Correct. Okay. So the first thing is to empty your brain.
Yep.
Then you want to bucket it into the 8 areas of life. You could technically flip those. Like if you want to say, all right, I'm going to list everything from my relational life and then go into my fitness. That can
Well,
be
and if you're
easier
not
for some
if
people.
you're not really ready for that step, you could just bucket your priority items. You could just prioritize.
Anything that you currently have. But then you want to start giving it a sense of priority and saying, okay, what's the stuff that I have to do in the next 24 hours? What's the stuff that I have to do in the next, 2-3 days?
Yep.
A week, a month, and then
right.
spring cleaning I'd like to do, but it's not an urgent priority.
Yeah, and it's not. It's the thing that you do or you want to do when there's nothing else to do.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
the easiest way to explain spring cleaning.
Okay, great. So I think that's it. That's
Yeah, man,
it.
that's
And
it.
then just take the action.
Yeah.
Don't be like me. Don't be stubborn. Be like I am now, where I finally figured that out and actually tried it.
All right. So
and
in
saw the
closing,
results.
what are we talking about next week?
Next week?
Or next
Actually,
podcast?
it's later this week.
Yeah,
It's
later this
in
week.
a
I
couple
forgot.
days.
He's got me working so hard. He's got me chained into the office.
It is the 8 pillars of life. So tune in a couple
that's
days
cool.
for the 8 pillars of life. We're actually going to teach you these 8 areas of life and our way of bucketing life up into different areas. I'm excited for that one, man.
Awesome. All right, guys, you heard it here. Journey Principles Institute, Stephen Scoggins, Connor Kraft signing off. We love you. We believe in you. Keep it moving forward. We're here to help you. Visit journeyprinciples.com for free resources and things like that. If you have questions that you want to have answered on air, questions at journeyprinciples.com. Until then, we'll see you on the next Journey Principles. Take care.
See you guys.
I'll see you in the next video. And please, if you don't mind and you enjoyed the Life Mastery content we're building, consider hitting the subscribe button and also hitting the bell so you'll be the first to get notified anytime we release new content.